Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining this information session on computer science for every learner, the case study on integration of computer science for English learners in the K-5 grades. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Maggie Essig from the Illinois Resource Center, Diana Silvas, who's lending support for the project, the CESL project, as we lovingly call it, and our partner, Abril Vela, who is representing CS for Success on this initiative today. We're going to just basically talk about what it is that we're intending to do at the Illinois Resource Center to bridge and integrate computer science education into the EL classroom. We're really looking for partner districts in this area in the K-5 grades who have a high number of English learners in their districts. The intent is really to come into your districts to bring computer science across the district, but really focus in on two schools where we can actually do the research through through observations, interviews, surveys, and class time observations as well. So without further ado, let me continue on with my presentation, and we'll continue to talk about what it is that we're doing. So some of the background information on the Illinois Resource Center and the Computer Science for Every Learner project. Through a legislative initiative in 2021, we developed what we hope is a clear pathway for building capacity to support computer science instruction for English learner students in Illinois. Some of this includes, for example, we established a model for administrators and educators, summer professional development to infuse computer science into bilingual programs. Through our pilot program in 2021, we had roughly 80 teachers come across the program through a combination of the Code.org Summer Institute and computational thinking integration for Chicago Public Schools. In this summer, the summer 2023, we expect to serve an additional 70 teachers who will be going through the 2023 Code.org Summer Institute. When we decided to do this, it was through a partner collaboration with CS for Success, the Learning Technology Center, obviously Code.org, DLN was also part of this initial conversation. But really, we identified that there's a huge need for some of this integration to happen. For example, some of the feedback that we received as part of the initial pilot program, 94% of respondents said that the sessions held outside of school hours really interfered with their work or personal schedules. And 50% of the respondents who participated in our pilot program disagreed when asked if they felt adequately prepared. So they did feel prepared, but they just didn't really have time to integrate some of this stuff, really signaling to us that kind of one-off professional development isn't really conducive to really what we're trying to do, which is this integration. Some participants also said that, the responsibilities in supporting other teachers made it extremely difficult for them to support ELs in computer science education. So to us, it really signals that these findings show that the program the pilot program resulted not a high level of integration for CS. That's why we're trying to do something different. We're really trying to go into the districts this time around and to create a more sustained PD over time. This will be a 3-year study. We'll come to that in a few seconds. So based on some of those findings, CESL and our partners got together and decided how could we maybe do a case study, a research project around the need for EL teachers to integrate this education. We developed the hypothesis that sustained and intensive collaborative professional development in computer science will provide teachers of English learners with a conducive school-wide context and the instructional support needed to effectively and successfully integrate computer science into their instruction. The CESL project, I'm going to now maybe hand it over to Maggie Essig, who can maybe discuss a little bit further what the research understanding is, what's out there in research right now, and how we hope to really tackle this issue.
Thanks, Sylvia. So what the research project is going to look like is that we will choose 6 schools that have high populations of ELs, and they will participate in this program for 3 years. Any participating school will receive access to Boot Up's professional development at no cost for the entire length of the project, for the entire 3 years. And all participating schools will receive access to the CS for Success implementation planning PD services at no cost for 3 years. So that's really a lot of PD at no cost to your districts. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So the schools will have to identify stakeholders that are going to be the core team participating in this program for the entire 3 years. So we're looking at this team including principals, or an assistant principal, bilingual administrators. So if that's your EL program coordinator, your bilingual director, whatever their title is, the person who's in charge of your EL or bilingual program. EL teachers, 1 teacher per grade level, a grade level teacher, and a computer science champion. So maybe like a curriculum and instructional coach or the tech specialist in your district. And then we anticipate that 10 EL teachers and 20 grade level teachers, so 30 teachers total, will participate between combining the 2 schools in each district.
Some of the expectations for participants, we really, it's really completing the Boot Up professional development sessions, the completion of the CS implementation planning sessions, the completion of all the research components, such as the classroom observations mentioned at the beginning, staff interviews, and program surveys. There is a small stipend that we will offer teachers who want to participate in this PD, knowing very well that any professional development that is done outside of school hours is still work. And teachers need to be valued and paid for that work as fairly as possible. We have allotted $1,200 per teacher that will be awarded annually each year at the end of each year. Excuse me. I'll kick it over to Abril. Perhaps she can maybe mention a little bit about the professional development model with our partner Boot Up. Abril, please take it away.
Sure. So we have selected Boot Up Professional Development as our primary PD provider. They use a comprehensive approach to teacher PD that includes district level implementation support. They believe in providing sustained long-term professional development and specialize in elementary level PD, which is why they were selected as the primary partner for this project. Teachers will participate in hands-on coding workshops, model teaching, and coaching. There will also be the addition of a PLC and a capstone project to their PD model specific to this project to directly support the development of teachers of ELs and hopefully help us achieve our goal of successful integration of CS for EL students. Coding workshops for this project will use 2 different Learn to Code platforms depending on the grade level served. In K2, teachers will use Scratch Junior, and in 3-5, teachers will use Scratch. So in Boot Up Year 1, you can see the breakdown of hours expected for professional development, and over the course of the sessions, expected number of hours for each type of professional development support provided by Boot Up is summarized below. So you can see that model teaching coaching, there's an expected 10 hours in year 1, instructional coaching, there's an expected 4 to 5 hours, and that capstone support for teacher of ELs, there's 9 to 12 hours. It should be noted that because we are serving both EL teachers of ELs and content level teachers, which in some cases are different groups of educators in schools, they may have different expectations in terms of their professional development and the supports being provided by Boot Up, and that will be indicated with all schools participating in this project. In year 2, our breakdowns vary slightly. There is a decrease in the level of expected instructional coach participation in Boot Up. Otherwise, there is consistency in the number of PD for actual coding content. In year 3, PD hours do decrease quite a bit as we're beginning to close out the PD for the project. We will focus in year 3 on actually preparing schools and districts for our team to leave and for the Boot Up team to depart. So year 3 will focus on sustainability of the project and on teacher instruction. For school level implementation planning with CS for Success, there will be implementation planning processes and tools and resources designed specifically for this project that will focus on how to insert CS skills into core subject areas through the K-5 grades based on what teachers will be learning in their professional development sessions with Boot Up. This will be done by reviewing the 5 questions listed here. These sessions for implementation planning will be completed at the beginning of the school year between the implementation planning team that was reviewed earlier in this session. So you will have principals, bilingual coordinators, educators, and other stakeholders participating in these planning sessions, thinking through what is required for successful CS integration during the school year, and how you can more successfully, effectively, and efficiently be utilizing both teacher and student CS skills based on educator development of those skills over time with the assistance of Boot Up. I am going to hand it back over to Maggie to talk a little bit about how we will be working with the participating schools to identify the participating teachers in this program. Maggie, you're muted before you get too far.
Yeah, thank you. So principals at the participating schools will choose the teacher per grade band that will be participating in the project. We're looking at teacher interest. So if the teacher's interested in computer science skills and integrating that into their instruction, willing to participate in additional PD to gain new computer science skills. We're also looking at teacher bandwidth, right? We know everybody's stretched really thin, so we want to make sure that given the teacher's current workload, they can reasonably complete the PD and participate in lesson planning. And then the teacher's scope of work. Does this teacher work with the student population that this project targets, which is English learners? So for data collection, we're going to have teachers take a survey, the teacher beliefs about coding and computational thinking, as a pre, post, and a midpoint survey. So they're going to take it at the beginning of the project, the middle of the project, and at the end to track how their thinking is evolving. We will also be doing observations. I will be doing observations. So during the project, the teachers at all participating schools will have 2 classroom observations a year. I'll work with them to schedule that, and I'll come in and observe how CS is being integrated into instruction. And then finally, interviews. So I will be interviewing the principals, the EL director or program coordinator, or bilingual director, who's ever in charge of the program, and teachers at all participating schools at the beginning and the end of each academic year to gauge their experience, their feelings, just understand their process in this PD series. For evaluation, we're going to do both formative and summative evaluation of the project. Is going to be based on the CIPP model checklist. It evaluates the context, input, process, and product of the research project of the PD. And then we're going to have an advisory board who's going to advise us on the project. And so we've recruited some great members to be on our advisory board, and they're going to be critically monitoring our progress towards our research goals. We have recruited people based on their area of expertise, and then our progress in the project will be reported to them 2 times per year.
This is, I don't know if you could see that it is looking a little bit small, but this is the project timeline that we've developed. In year 1, we're really looking to start somewhere around August to develop, especially that first meeting with our advisory board. September through November, we really hope to incorporate some of that initial feedback from the board. December through February, classroom observations, and so on and so forth. Year 2 will be similar in nature to year 1, and it won't be until maybe year 3 that we'll really start to look at the analysis of the data and the observations data, continue to report quarterly to our advisory board through written reports and meetings. And finally, some of the recommendations that we hope to gather from this project will be released through various communication channels, our networks, for example, the networks of our partners, other professional development people that we work with, policy partners in our areas. We also hope to really present this data in other conferences in hopes that we can elevate interest in other teachers and really delineate a pathway that others can model, especially in other cities that really have a high number of English learners in their states. At the end of the project, we do hope that by year 3, we'll come up with what is really a framework and a micro-credential that will come out of this data information. And again, that is, something that we hope other districts across the state and the nation really can model after our program. And some of the desired outcomes that we really hope to gain out of this is, develop the teachers' beliefs and a sense of efficacy that they can be and see themselves as computer science teachers. And we know that if that's elevated, it'll really translate into their practice. Another component of the professional development for a successful implementation of ELs and the development of the framework for school-wide adoption, which I just mentioned, that integrates computer science for ELs. Some of the broader impacts, like I mentioned, is sharing it across the state and across the nation. In the state, we hope that this project will eventually serve EL educators across, obviously, the participating schools. And that project alone, that impact could serve some 300 EL students. In addition, we hope that if it is adopted by other students across the state, it could really have an impact across, to the 250,000 plus EL students enrolled in Illinois alone. Data from 2021 school year says that that's about 250,000 EL students in Illinois. So the impact in Illinois alone could be really, really great. And again, this proposal of the micro-credential specific to bilingual and ESL endorsed teachers that will provide recognition of their transferable skills. It'll provide commitment to this new literacy, and it could really propel them to be really, really real leaders in this field. The dissemination plan, as I mentioned in year 3, will include, especially with our partnership with the Illinois State Board of Education. We see them as a partner in helping us to disseminate the findings of our study, and communicating the research findings to teachers, school administrators across Illinois and beyond. And of course, the relationship through our partners like CS for Success, Code.org, the Learning Technology Center, and others. So at this point, this is just the basic information that we have around our proposal to do a case study in your districts. If you are interested, if you have any questions or comments around the work that we're attempting to do here, it's an initial first step, I think, in really narrowing the gap that exists for underrepresented students in computer science, such as EL learners. So my information is here on the screen, my phone number, my email. Email is probably best, but feel free to contact us any way that you find is best for you. At this moment, I will just pause for a second, and collectively, I want to see if there's anything that I've missed, if there's any questions or topics that I should mention before we end this info session. All right. My colleagues are quiet, so I feel like maybe we touched up on everything that we were meaning to touch up on, and mention about this exciting opportunity. It is a question of equity, and we do hope that superintendents, especially leaders at the district, take a moment to reflect whether this is something that they think would be impactful for their students, EL students, and their teachers, who I think are really looking for new ways to be as impactful to the students they serve.
The only thing I'll add, Sylvia, is the IRC and Cecil itself is really spearheaded like a movement with this project and with this initiative. It's the first of its kind in this state, and it's really the leader, I would say, of this work across the nation. There's very few projects that are making headway in integrating CS for ELs successfully in K-12. I think there are quite a few curriculum providers who are generating curriculum to do so, but we aren't seeing districts or educators find a conducive way to actually get it into the classroom and sustain it long term. And so we're trying to figure out what an answer is to that problem that repeatedly is being identified. And so I think this could be very helpful, not just for our state, but as you mentioned, for many others. And we would like to work with you, your school, your district, to not only help you solve problems that you've identified for your communities, but then to translate that and make it be a tool and a resource for others who are facing similar obstacles, to make this a real community effort.
Yep, absolutely. Well said, Abril. Any other parting words from Maggie or Diana before we end this session?
I will say that I'm super excited about the project, and you know, the CS world and the language learning world overlap in more ways than you might think. And I think what's exciting about this project is that it's not trying to add another thing onto teachers' plates. It's trying to insert computer science skills into the language learning, the content learning that's already happening with our EL students. So it's about how do we take what we're already doing and tweak it and give it the vocabulary that helps students learn these computer science skills as well.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much. From our technology instruction specialist at the IRC. Thank you. We couldn't have ended on a better note. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to hear from you in this initial phase of our research project. Take care. Thank you.